Nick Hue,
And I'm Sara Falco, and this is Huewav.
where we spark conversation with creators to discuss who they are, what they do, and why they do it.
Today we're here with fourth-year graphic design student at the University of Hartford, Claudia Geyer.
How's it going?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. It's going great. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And especially with the recent GDUSA feature, that's incredible. How did that come about?
Oh wow. So, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was insane. I got a reach out from one of my design professors and they were recommending me to like submit kind of like my bio and like my whole thing for the student to watch feature at for the magazine. And it was just an incredible opportunity. So I'm really thankful that, they accepted it and they like published it and like now I'm a part of it. And, I've gotten some like recognition from it already from like other professionals, which is like super, super cool.
Really, already?
Yeah, like it's kind of insane. Um, I didn't even know that they would want to like to have me up there, and even another student from my class, my design class, is on there too.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You only started design when you started going to college, right? Like, you kind of knew that you wanted to do it, but
Yeah.
just started, like...
Right. So, like, I remember my junior year in high school when, everyone was forcing us to think about college. I already knew I wanted to be in, like, the art field because, honestly, that was the only thing that was attracting me, was I was always drawing, I was always doing, like, these little art things. Everyone knew that I was, like, that artist girl. So, I already knew that that was something that I wanted to do. And I was thinking about what specific fields I wanted to be in, and then I started thinking about graphic design, and before I even had any, like, design experience, I remember I told my mom, I was like, "Hey, I wanna do graphic design in college." And she's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I do. This is something that looks, like, really cool." Just because of from what as a consumer point of view, I think that's what, like, got me because I was always looking at logos and signs, and I said, like, "This is such cool stuff," and, like, that's what I wanna do, and it wasn't until, after I graduated high school was when I took my first, design class, which was a pre-college class in NYIT with Nick, actually.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have that prior exposure is like you said, the consumer side of things, like whether it's a cool packaging of something you ordered or
Mhm.
like, a logo animation like when you boot up a video game or something like that is like I feel like a lot of designers they'll have some sort of like personal stash of like packages or like physical material that's just like, oh, I saved this because it was cool, and just get inspired by that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was so naturally drawn to all that, and I didn't even know until, like, I had to start thinking about college and, like, what my major is gonna be, and I didn't even question myself. I was like, "Yeah, this is exactly." I remember it was such a quick decision. I was like, "Yeah, I wanna do graphic design, 100%. I've never done it, but I wanna do it." So, that was kind of like, and I think that, like, my mom wasn't really sure about that. She's like, "Well, you never done it before," and then that's why, I took that summer course in NYIT to kinda get my foot in the door because I was also really scared of going into college without any, prior experience to that besides just, like, doing drawing in my bedroom.
Right, right. Yeah, because I noticed a lot of your earlier work is like mostly painting and drawing. So to make
Exactly.
that transition is definitely something that's interesting. I think some people, maybe, if they paint and they say, oh, I want to do design, maybe they realize they don't like design. And some people do make that transition. So you found that like even though like design is like a bit different, I think, from painting, it's a little bit more rigid, I think, at times, but you still find it like just as satisfying.
Oh, yeah, I think I every time I, do design and, like, I even talk about it, like, I can talk about it forever and it's like I'll never get bored of it, and it's definitely my passion, and I've never questioned it even from, like, the first, like, my first day in college, like, I've never ever like questioned my decision at all.
Yeah, that's definitely a great place to be in.
Yeah, I'm super thankful that I had that really that like straight line of thinking, where there was never it was never up in the air of like what I wanted to do.
I had the same thing really, honestly, because when I took that class in high school, the like intro to like Photoshop basically, like from there on out, like it was like no questions asked. Like I want to do design, and I haven't really questioned it. Like I never thought about changing majors or changing fields. Like it's pretty much always been like, yep, this is it. Like I'm just content here.
Yeah, and that's when I feel like that's something that's so awesome to have when you just know you know. And I even remember when I was at that NYIT course, I remember you were really good and you had your like personal like logo up,
Oh
like you
my
were working
god.
on that.
I
And I
remember
was
that.
like, and I was like, oh wow. And then like I was looking around and I was like, okay, so definitely I'm new. Like I had no idea. I really knew my spot as soon that first day. I was like, I'm on the bottom, and because I was still asking like the instructors like how to do stuff in Illustrator because I've never even opened it. I never had it before, so I was just trying to do that. I had no idea how to make a logo. Literally, I was winging it the whole time, but it was a great crash course, I think, and it kind of got me excited for like the next couple years.
Yeah, for sure. I actually I was the teaching assistant for that class for 2 years, like while I was at NYIT, and
That's
the
great.
thank you, the work that we saw come out of kids in like literally 1 week was insane at times. Like obviously, everyone's on a different level and everyone takes the software differently. Some people take that class and then 5 days later they're like, I hate graphic design. I never want to do this for a living. And then other kids really like it. But I was like, I remember, I think really both years, like at times just being blown away by some of the work they were producing.
Wow, that's great.
It's really interesting to watch happen like in real time.
That's
Because I
awesome.
went into that class like already knowing that I wanted to do design. I already knew like my path, but it's very cool to watch. And sometimes it's just one aspect of it. Like I know, for some people like we showed them the logo design and they were like kind of bored and whatever, but then when you show them like I specifically remember showing the class mock-ups like, oh, you could take
Mhm.
what you made and then put it on a
Put it
bag,
on
put it on
stuff.
they flipped out. Some of them, they were just going mock up. Like one group we had, they must have made like 50 mock-ups, and they were like just
Oh
having
my
so much
god.
fun with it. So sometimes it's just like, maybe you like package design. Then it's like everyone has like their own little like part of design that they like resonate with.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's super cool to hear. I feel like I've had the same experience, but with photography. Like sometimes that intuition is just everything. Like I just all of a sudden knew I loved photography, and then I was like, yeah, I think I like want to do this. And my parents were like, okay, and I was like, yeah. So I started taking pre-college courses, and it was the same thing. Like from me, like the starting date of me going there to like the 2 weeks that the course was, the ending date or whatever, my work just like transformed. And I feel like just those short crash courses can make such a difference in kids like pursuits of these things.
Right.
So it's really cool to hear that like that kind of goes across mediums too,
Oh,
and
for
across
sure.
different art.
For sure. It's a kind of like all the same thing, just in different lenses. I think they can all translate into pretty much all like the same kind of pattern.
Yeah, totally.
I know you said you work in like an office versus freelancing environment. You have experience working like kind of both ends of it. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of they're both like totally different things. So like right now I'm interning at Minson Hope. It's an advertising agency, and I'm on the design, like the creative team. So I'm kind of getting almost like their freelance work in a sense because we're getting all these. It's like we're getting like these outside clients in, and then like we're doing all these like projects for them, and like putting out stuff. So it's kind of like you're just it reminds me of like my freelance work where like just like random clients come in and they want these random things. Like it's never the same, and it's kind of like that cool environment where it never is like boring. And the only thing with like freelancing is you can kind of control what you have more control of like what you want to create because you can kind of set those rules for yourself. You can always set like a time and like pricing and stuff for that. But I think working kind of in that office space is more it's more like a clockwork kind of thing. So it's like less you have like obviously like less control over like what you want to make. So sometimes there's things like you really don't want to make, but you have to make them anyway. You kind of have to like push it out and like meet that deadline. But also, what I really love about that office space is, and that like the environment is, you have a lot of potential to collab with other designers and team members. And I really, really love where I'm working because it's kind of like there's so many departments and we all work together. Like, not everyone in my creative team are designers. And I think that's so cool because then you get all these different kind of like perspectives and thinking. And it just always creates something so nice at the end. And it's all from like, different, like, how do you say? Like, it's all from like different parts of the creative field. And then we all work really, really well together. And everything we make is this so, I think, well rounded. Well, whereas like freelance, though, it's really cool to work for yourself. It's pretty much only you. So you
Right, you
must,
gotta kind of be like a one person show.
yeah, you kind of like, you probably have to make all these things that you in the office space, you would have like, three people kind of contributing to, or, for example. So it's really different. It's kind of like how you like to work. I really enjoy working with people. I'm a total people person, so I really love that collab and like back and forth and just kind of like brainstorming and just throwing ideas out, see what sticks. It's a really great creative space to be in.
Yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity, especially with the ability to have collaboration, I think is like essential.
Yeah, and that's just like so nice to be in a creative space with like, similar minds. And it's just like a super great environment to be around. And it's kind of similar to, the classroom where you guys are working on projects, you can ask classmates and like do crits and stuff. And it's just talking about it. And I think that's when, your art can really evolve, is when you put it out there, you get feedback, you bring it back, because it's not all just like, people can open different perspectives and different viewpoints about things that you never really thought about before. And then that's how things just, keep improving and getting better. And then you work on your craft a lot. And I think that's how just generally people get better with their skill set.
No, I think the office versus freelancing is I feel like some people would just automatically think like freelancing would be better, but I think it like you said, it depends on how you like to work. I know some people like to be in control of a project from the beginning to the end. Um, I'm like that sometimes, but I also definitely like to work with other people, and to just be part of a larger team is definitely I think more rewarding because you get that like exchanging of ideas and collaboration and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely based on preference, but I also think it's good to kind of have both. You don't want to be that guy that's like doesn't let anyone touch their art, their work, or like
Yeah, yeah.
open to any, like really closed-minded and defensive about everything they make. You can be passionate and proud of what you make, but I think part of art is like that community, and like that communication is like really key. So I always think that's part of it.
You have to be open to a certain degree in order to grow in the art world for sure.
I think for some people too, it just comes down to like stability because I know freelancing can be at times like uncertain, and then you have like a more like corporate structures, like something more like semi secure at times, but sometimes it's worth the trade off to go and do some things on your own.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I always like right now I love doing, the more job office thing, but then, when I have time I'll like freelance also. So it's kind of like I'm getting both. And then I'm still a student, so it's almost like I'm having like my own freelance project, which is just like my senior project. So I do have that's still like that environment where I'm working on stuff by myself, like, and it's all my work. And then I have like my job, which is with people, and it's a great balance.
Right, and doing that too, I think, just by the way, just freelancing as a student, I feel like is so important. And having an internship or having an internship while you're a student is just so important. It's so great that you're doing both of those things.
Yeah, thank you. It's honestly super fun, and it gets a lot of experience. Like I've gained a lot of kind of that client designer thing with when I started freelancing. And you learn a lot about yourself and about kind of like the field, because when you're working with someone that has no idea, with design, and that you have to kind of talk to them and be able to explain certain things to them. So then they like the design as much as you do.
Right, right.
Dang. Yeah, that's really amazing. That sounds like such a good balance.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great, and I plan on keep doing that like freelance on the side while I still have like my professional career. I see that's like really good to have.
Yeah, I've definitely talked to some people, who are in like, senior year or just coming out of college also, and they maybe like don't have any internship or any like relevant experience, and it's kind of hard like at that point like it would be a good idea definitely to have some already. And then
Mhm.
another thing that I get asked too sometimes is like how to start getting like client work. Um
Right. Oh yeah, that's like super important.
I don't know what your experience has been like, but honestly, a lot of mine like is just it's just time based. It just takes time and word of mouth really for more than anything.
Yeah, so I actually get this question a lot from my friends like that are in the art field, and they're like, "How do you get clients?" And so the first thing I say is kind of, well, like what you were saying with like the time is like the most important thing. And I was like, have a presence online, because that's everything. So all of my freelance has come from my Instagram, my art account. And once you have once people start coming in to you for that, or you can even start reaching out if you know someone needs like some design work, you can even offer and say like, hey, I'm, just starting out. I would love to take a shot at it, if you're down, and kind of building that relationship with clients. And then once you start getting that client list, they start to tell other people, hey, like I just worked with this really dope designer. I can give, their information to you. You can reach out to them. I'm sure they'll be able to do the work that you want. And that's honestly how I was getting a majority after I started building that first client base. And then people started coming out to me saying, like, hey, I know you worked with this person. I would love if you could help me out and do this stuff. And then it kind of builds on top of each other. It just grows. It's like a network, and it keeps growing. And then it's really important to keep that social media presence is like critical for that, so people know what you do and who you are.
Even just starting the conversation with someone sometimes, even if it's not like a project that's going to happen right then, like just having them in your network, like can work wonders. I feel like I've gotten so many jobs that way just from being like, hey, like your work is dope. Like would love to do something sometime.
For sure, for sure. Like post your work, like be proud of it, like really, really put it in everyone's face. And then they'll know, like, hey, I know that. I know like this artist that could help you for like this project. Like you should reach out. And it's just like it's a great system. And you can get really lucky with some projects, like and just like start connecting with a lot of really, really cool people.
Yeah, I think I could definitely speak for that for myself. Just like word of mouth networking has been essential. And it's not even at that point it's not even work that you're doing yourself, it's other people that you've done work for, vouching for you and directing people to you, and that's really where a lot of the good work comes from.
Oh, yeah, and then that's such, like, I feel so honored when they come to me,
Yeah,
but, like,
yeah,
"Hey,
every
I
time.
heard,"
Yeah.
yeah, "I heard good things about you," and you're like, "Oh, for real?"
You're
That's
like, what?
awesome. You're like, me? That's so cool. Yeah,
There's
I can help you out.
there's no better
Dude.
feeling than that. Like, are you sure you don't
Yeah,
have
and
the
you're like,
wrong
cool.
person?
Yeah, it's like, I can hook you up with someone else. Like, I'm sure there's someone better. But it's good to have that kind of like that confidence. And then, you always say like, yeah, I can do that. Even if you have, there's like jobs where I've agreed to, and I've never done those, like, done that type of, like, thing before or, like, art or whatever, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that for sure. Are you kidding me? Piece of cake."
And then the
And
Yeah,
then I
panic
have
sets
no idea
in.
what I'm doing. But then
so
I'm like, that's
relatable.
how yeah, and then that's how you kinda get that exposure. You kinda push yourself into that and be like, "Well, why can't I do that?" Like, how that if you keep having that confidence, then people start believing that, and then, like, if you think you're good and you kind of act like you're good, then people are going to say, "Oh, you're good." It's kind of this like how you carry yourself is like super important, and how you even talk about your design. Like I've seen a lot of uh, you know, past classmates and students where they have such great work and it's amazing, and then when you hear them present it, it's always like they're kind of you can hear a lot of doubt in their voice, and that sells down their beautiful work. And I'm like, and then I even say like, well, why are you saying these things? I'm like, what I'm seeing right here is amazing. So act like that it's amazing, and it's amazing. Just the way they're like presenting it kind of makes people doubt like that initial this is great, or maybe it's not because they're not confident in it. So like, why am I?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
experienced
totally.
that so much with, professors be like,
Right.
stop talking down to your work before you present it. And then, it never
Yeah, never
fails.
say it's
Never
right.
fails. Someone
Never
gets up
ever.
there and they're like, it kind of
Yeah.
sucks, but, and then,
Oh my God. Like this
Yeah.
is really bad. Never say your work is bad, because once like people have started their presentation saying like, I don't like this, or this is really bad, but and then it doesn't matter what you say, because everyone's just gonna that's gonna stick in their head and be like, okay, she thinks this is bad, he thinks this is bad, then this must be bad because they made it. Like
at that point,
they
you
know what
just
they're
killed
talking
it.
about.
Like, there's no recovering from that once you put
Right.
that thought
Imagine
into everyone's head.
Right. Like imagine you're pitching it to a client and you're like, "This isn't good, but here's what I have." Okay, then like it's over. Like the entire pitch is done. You just sold it the wrong way.
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
always used to be the person,
mhm.
like even with client work, I'd send something and be like, "Let me know what you think," or like, and it's just like, like to break that habit was hard, but it's so much better to not use like, um, what's the word, like non-confident like language.
Right, right, or like
Yeah,
doubtful
yeah.
language for
Yeah, doubtful
sure.
language.
Yeah, I think I've honestly design and like all this like freelance stuff has really helped build, I think, myself as a designer, and like that whole confidence we are talking about. Because I think the biggest when I started getting into freelancing was like, I think, oh, I don't know, like I started a little in like freshman year, honestly, which was scary because I had no business. This wasn't me being unconfident. This was just I was really, really bad when I first started. But like I think I really started taking freelancing seriously like sophomore year, and the biggest thing was, and I'm sure you guys about to be like, yeah, like, okay, it was your pricing and what you charge people, because you're really
Oh
putting
man.
like, right? You're putting like a value, like a numeric value to your art. And I've gotten in a lot of conversations with my professors with like being like, how do you charge people and like free work, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, that wasn't that much work, so like I can just this amount of money, like it's fine, like I don't want to like charge too much, like whatever. And then I also get this from like my friends who do freelance too. They're like, how much am I charging for this? So, what am I worth, almost kind of thing. And it's like, you're worth a lot of money, man. You think people it's like not everyone can do this. When people are reaching out for freelancing, that means they really need someone to do it, or else they would just do it themselves, right? So that means they value you. And then a lot of people kind of have this habit, like non-artists, like have this habit of like saying like, oh, like, it's just art. Like, like it's not, why are you charging so much? Like, just do it for experience. And I was like, like no way should you ever have like free art. You know, that's your work. You're providing a service. You're providing this like for people to have. Like you need to put that money. You need to charge like a fair price. And I think that's really hard for people to start getting into because then you start feeling bad for charging people or something like that. You're like, it's just like this. It's not that bad.
It's such
But you
a
got to get
hurdle.
into it. Yeah, yeah. And then you learn a lot about yourself through that, I think.
I always try to tell myself, like, I think at the end of the day, doubting yourself in all those ways is kind of inevitable sometimes, but you just have to trust in, like, what made you start doing this in the first place and, like, what makes you create all those pieces that you're doubting. Like, trust in that feeling and then, like, use that and project that into the way that you, like, talk about it, price it, like, and it's hard because the way that our economy and society is set up, like, art isn't always considered as, like, solid as like, oh, I have a job in engineering, I'm gonna get paid this much. But like the worst thing someone can do is say no. So until someone says no, like just go.
Exactly. I've never had anyone say like I was charging way like too much, like or anything like that, and I was always scared that that was gonna happen. It's and they were like, yeah, sure, like, and it's really great when people like kind of respect like the art and stuff because I think some people will assume it's like free because it's art, and you're like, no, no, you have to get I have to get paid for this because that's your job.
Yeah, pricing is always just the absolute worst discussion ever to have. And I
Yep.
used to think, like, I used to try to ask, like, professors or something, like, oh, what should I be charging or how should I charge this? And everyone gives you a different answer. And it's, like, and
Hmm.
I very quickly realized, like, there is no one answer. So you kind of
Exactly.
just have to find something that works for you and stick with it. Um, and then, I did a job once. It was probably, like, my first, like, really big job I would consider that I did. It was, like indirectly like for a music artist that I liked. Was a big fan of them for a very long time, like since I was in like middle school, and I was dealing with their management, and when it came time to invoice them, I really didn't know what to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably not gonna get this opportunity to like talk to someone like this directly like that ever again. And I just, because I had been working with them for such a long time at that point that I kind of felt comfortable just asking him. I was like, listen, like, what is the average like rate that people charge like at these record labels or like on this same level? And he was completely honest with me. Like he told me like what they normally charge hourly, and I was like forever grateful for that. And I've just kind of used that as like a base. Because I was like, you know what? I have to just ask. Like, I have to find out, like, while I can. Um,
And yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, sometimes you'll get an opportunity like that, and sometimes you have to wing it. But, and even that, like, I'm not saying that's a right answer. It was just, some bit of information at least that I was looking for. And
And
I've
that's great
had,
that you asked. Hmm.
yeah, I was debating asking for. I'm like, you know what? Let me just do it because, like, when am I gonna get this opportunity again? So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
found that out, and then I've had to obviously over time you raise your rates, and
Right.
I've
Hmm.
had some
That's
people
important.
like specifically be like, oh, like I love to see like the increase, like get your worth, like they like actually being supportive of the increase, and that's like such a good feeling. Honestly, I had that happen to me recently, where someone like just specifically was like, oh, like I noticed like the price increase, like good for you, like they were like genuinely like good job, and like that felt amazing.
Yeah, I feel like that stuff
Wow.
means the world.
Because you're not
Yeah,
gonna
when
get
people
that
respect
response from
it.
everybody.
No, no way.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. That's actually really cool that you got that response
Yeah, I
and you
was
were
like
able to
shocked. I'm like,
kind of
that's
do
just
that.
like the most genuine like form of support at that point. Like,
Yeah. I don't know if people realize that like, artists tend to, you should like update your prices because, your skill sets increase, so should your price and stuff. And I feel like people don't realize that even a thing. So that's really great that, that person was like really cool about that.
right? Yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
super
totally.
super thankful for them, and for anyone who's just like supportive like on that level is just insane to me.
Those are the good ones for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you gotta take into account like you upgrade your equipment and stuff too, and like you get faster and better, like you said. So
Exactly.
Yeah, you pay for the
Exactly.
software, you pay for the equipment, and then just the more people you work with, and the more of a name you make for yourself. And plus the price of
Mm-hmm.
everything goes up all the time.
true.
Inflation, man. Yeah, that's it.
But just like circling back quick to what you said before, because I don't think I got to talk about it when you said like kind of just being nervous about a project that you haven't done before. I've been there, and like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
like that's like you just wing it, and then like once that I've done that on multiple occasions, to be completely honest, and then like come out the other side of it, you're like, oh my god, like I know how to do this now. This is now a service that I could offer. If someone says, can you do this? Like, yeah, I do know actually, and like here's one I've made before, and it just kind of snowballs.
Oh, for sure. That, and then I mean, that's how you build a portfolio, man.
Right,
Like
right.
you, when you're like, it's like a new project and it's like a new thing that you've never done before. If you have that confidence in yourself where you're like, I could learn how to do this, you don't gotta tell them, I've never done that before, but I'll give it a shot. You don't
Yeah,
have to
no, I
tell
would
them that. Be
never
like,
say that up front and just kind of be
yeah,
like, oh yeah, I
because
could do
then they're
that.
gonna be like, cool. Let me go ask someone who's done it before because obviously you don't know. Like you kind of fake that and you say like, I can do this for you. And then once
Yeah,
you say that to yourself, then I think that's it's like all about like your attitude and your mindset. And if you have a positive one going into maybe an intimidating first project, never done before, be like, hey, I've been doing all this. What's the difference? I can do this too. And you go in and then you do it. It's dope. And then you're like, cool, now I can do this for real.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's how, especially as an artist, that's how you get all of your first opportunities because no one, like, everyone wants someone with experience. But if you know that you're competent and that you are a hard worker and you're talented, like, why not? Like,
Hmm.
just go for it.
Yeah, it's like kind of like have the attitude like you have years of experience in that. And then that's what it's going to execute as. And then people are going to feel like that you did have like, years and years of that experience. So it's really good to have that.
Word. Yeah, definitely. Um, there was something I wanted to ask about your work. I read, like, I think it was in the graphic design USA feature,
Hmm.
or I also looked at, like, your Behance and stuff, which was awesome, by the way.
Oh my god, thank
yeah, second
you.
that.
Yeah.
I'm actually like working on like my senior portfolio, so a lot of things on that Behance are getting updated for sure.
Cool. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
Thank you. Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah, but I was gonna ask, like, if I guess because I know you're working on your senior project and updating your portfolio, I was gonna ask, like, is there anything specific now that you're trying to make your work touch upon, or like themes, or is there anything that you kind of hope to push with your work? I guess,
Oh wow, that's a good question. Um,
and no pressure.
oh my god, no, yeah, yeah, right. Let me just think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I don't have like a really set theme. I actually love when portfolios and like what I kind of want from my portfolio is that really like diverse feel where you can have like the style, and I feel like naturally designers and artists have like the style that they kind of stay in, but I really love when you kind of get that surprise project of things where it's like a super different look and feel because it kind of like expands like what you can do and how you can think outside of what makes you comfortable. So I always try to push that when I'm designing, and obviously I like naturally have this like aesthetic where I like things to be kind of slightly like minimal and like more like clean and like not chaotic, but I really also love that other side of design where it's like kind of like this like nice chaos. And I that's what I try I try to like push myself and saying like, what if you like instead of going with this thing that you always do, what if you challenge yourself and you do this? I like to give myself design challenges when I'm working on projects to see like what I can do, like to see how far I've come.
No, that's awesome. Um, and I think, like, design especially like is, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong because obviously I'm the photographer here, but like design is like a medium that is so versatile, and like it's not really like, I feel like if you're a painter, like a photographer, like there's a certain like, I guess an aesthetic that you can't really avoid, but with design, because it's so applicable to everything around us and like all the things that we use, like I feel like you have to like branch out and do all these different things and like challenge your work to be functional in all those different ways, I guess.
For sure. I agree with that. That's why I really just love like the whole world of design because it's really endless, and you can have one designer that does things that looks like it's done by 10 different people. And I think when you kind of have that like toolkit, almost like a Swiss Army knife, where you can like pull out all these different tools, but it comes from the same device. And I think that's what lands a lot of jobs and a lot of work. And you could have a favorite and like, you know, like this is like what I love print. So like, or I love this style of design, and you can do that. But you said like, if you need me to do something like this, I can do that. And that's that whole thing that we were talking about before, where it's like, if you're doing something new, it could even just be a new style of design. It's like, yeah, I can do that. And then you do it and it's great. And kind of going back, I think what I always keep in mind when I'm doing projects and stuff, especially for school or like class assignments and things, it's like designing with a purpose is super important to me. And being able, I make sure like what I'm designing stuff, even if like these like little elements here and there, like I make sure I'm able, you know, you step back and you're able to explain literally every design decision you make, and you have a good reason for it. And there's just purpose around everything. And that's like super important to me as a designer.
Yeah, I love that aspect because it's, just even if it's something that like, if other people wouldn't notice it, if you know that it's there for a purpose or that it has a reason for it, like that's satisfying enough, to me. And like if someone questioned you on it and you just like, oh, I just put that in there, like it's just random, like it's never a good look.
Oh yeah, like when and this has happened, you know, class people go, "Oh, what is this for?" "Oh, I don't know. I just liked it." Or "It looked
You're like,
cool."
oh yeah,
Like things
that's
can
the classic, oh, it looked cool. Like
Yeah,
that's
and it's like and you're like, "What?" And then you just I feel like you just blew it. But if you say like, "Oh, I did this because I was thinking about this and I applied it like this." And that just I think puts so much value into your design, and it just makes it just like a real like artwork, you know, and it's just amazing when you're able to talk about it, and super important that you're able to talk about everything, you know, not just throwing things randomly on a page because it looks cool. Like you have a reason, you can talk about it. You can like write a whole like essay about, you know, a poster that you made. You can like describe it like that.
right,
Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah, that's like a thing I love keeping in mind, and kind of like preaching and like telling other people like, hey, why did you do this?
Yeah,
Like
for
tell
sure.
me, explain it to me. Like I want to hear it. I want to hear the process, because that's just as important as the final product. Design's not always about, you know, when you hit print or like when you publish it. Like it's all this like there's so many layers to it. And I think like your sketchbook is just as important as like that final product that you have on your portfolio.
Do you, as a designer, do you like sketch regularly on that topic?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, I have I have so many pages of so many logo variations, so many page layouts, just like my brain thinking about new projects. Like when I have a new project, I like go into I have this little like bullet journal thing I get, and I just like draw. And I also I try to do it in pen too, because that makes you subconsciously more confident in what you're sketching, because you know you can't erase it. And I've learned that from like my drawing teachers, funny enough. So I
Ooh.
applied it
I never thought
to
about
like
it that way.
yeah, like and you know, because then you always like, oh, if it's super bad, I erase it. But like, no, don't erase it. Appreciate kind of what you think is bad, and you never know. And I tell people like, you never know what idea is going to stem from what. So whatever's in your brain, just like unconsciously draw everything, draw every idea you have, because and then when you look back at it, you're like, there's something in this, even though I don't like it, there's something in this that I like. So take that component and then you make something like super great. Like I've had a logo that took, I think, like 8 pages in my notebook. And then the last one I had was the one that I picked. And then it turned out like I was really happy with the outcome.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I went about with my logo. I was changing it for years. That's a whole nother story of being indecisive. But when I finally settled on the one that I have now and have had for thankfully years, it was just a result of a ton of sketching, and just filling pages out and drawing almost the same shape over and over again, modifying it slightly, building on it, making some that look totally off, like a totally different idea. And then like I think I filled like a couple of pages one day with just a ton of different shapes, and then landed on one, and I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And then I took it to the computer and refined it from there. But previously, before that, just trying to, I guess, digitally like sketch it, or not even really sketch it, but just try to keep remaking stuff in Illustrator, like wasn't going anywhere with it.
Right, and that's what I used to do. I used to start in Illustrator and just like doing it on the computer first, and I really didn't like sketching at all, and I was like, "That's not for me." Like,
Yeah, I was the same
I
way.
decided I was like, maybe that's just not for me. Maybe I'm just like a computer sketcher, and it really is something different when you have like the hand on like in your like hand written things, hand drawn things, and I think it does. And now I'm a sketch girl.
Yeah, because like just drawing, like you're getting like such a different experience. I was able to accomplish like what I couldn't do by sitting in Illustrator for hours on end and getting frustrated. Uh, you know,
Right,
Sketching
right.
that out like led to finally a solution.
Yeah, so then that's why I try to really tell people also like don't delete anything you do. And if you're working on, like even when I was working, like if I'm working on like posters, like say I was working on like a poster and I had like this one layout and I was like, that's cool. And then I just like duplicate that. And then I like make one edit and then I duplicate that. And then I make like another edit or another version. I was like, what if this is in this color? I don't like delete it. I just make all these like duplicates of it. And then I'll have this file that has like 20 versions of basically the same thing. And then
Yeah,
it's really
I
great
work
when
the same way.
yeah, and it's really great when especially when you're showing it to someone, this, like, happens to me all the time where they're like, "Oh, what if and I show them, like, the version I like, and they go, "Oh, like, what if, like, this text was, like, in this color?" I go, "Well, I tried that in page 7, you can see." And I show them the page, they're like, "And I didn't like that, so then I went like that." And they're like, "Oh, I see what you mean." And you're able to walk someone through a process, and I think that's really appreciated in kind of that like, that world, you know?
Yeah, that's an awesome feeling when like they suggest like, oh, what if this, and you're like, oh, already tried it. Here it is. Like you can just show it right then and there. I've made
Mhm,
a habit
mhm.
now of like just saving like versions for everything I do, and just duplicating the file in like V1, V2, V3 rather than just writing over previous
Exactly.
stuff. Or it's definitely such a good way to work.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just being really kind of, um, just open with your process and, like, not being, um I don't know, and I have no problem showing people really bad sketches. Be like, "Yeah, these are, like, my first things," like, never be embarrassed by it, and I think people are, like, kinda timid about showing kind of, like, their process, but that's, like, literally, like, 80% of design is that to me, so, like, show that process. You never know what it's gonna come out of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error for sure.
Exactly.
It's a really good way to look at it. It's really smart.
Do you have like a sort of like a dream job, or like what's your current I don't want to say end goal, but like where do you see yourself ending up as a designer like at this point?
Oh, right. Actually, this is funny because I have a really specific, plan.
Ooh.
Oh, okay,
So,
that's always
I
good.
want
That's always interesting.
yeah. Yeah, it's, like, rare for me that I kinda know what I wanna do. So, but this is like a general, like, outline of literally the rest of my life. So, when I'm out of college, I wanna be, working in a firm and just kind of doing things that make me. I really like client based work, so if I can get into that with firms and stuff, but I'm not really picky of what branch of design because really all of it uh, appeals to me. So I kind of like that I have that variety, so I can kind of pick where I want to go. So I don't have like a specific in that, but I just really love doing that. I even have interest in being like, a creative or art director is like cool to me and not being like such like a hands-on designer. Um, I love doing that too. But after I kind of do all of that for, however long I want to, be in that creative arena. um, and like when I want to slow down a little bit, I actually want to teach design and like be a professor.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I really, because like when I'm doing the TA thing right now, and there's just something I really love about being able to help and inspire people with like design and art and kind of like guide them. So after, and I want to gain that like real world experience so I can be kind of like the best tool for, these like students. So I really want to go into like any university and kind of like teach design and be like professors because my professors right now are like the people that really helped me be the designer I am today. And like I really look up to all of them. So I kind of want to be that for people like later on in my life.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
I love that approach because I've had some professors who didn't necessarily have like a solid real world design experience, and the ones that did were always the best ones. So I think like by you wanting to do do the design work first and then go on to teach, that's like an awesome plan.
Yeah, thank you. And then then I really want to make sure I already have this plan for my future students that like whatever I'm teaching in there, like I want it to be as close to kind of like the real world as it can be. Like, how would it be if they're in this firm to kind of prepare them as much as I am able to, because that's only going to benefit them and kind of be that for them and help them with that. I think it's super important because, when teachers do that, that's like so valuable because then that's what you're working for. Like, that's why people are in college and or like taking classes and stuff is to kind of prep for that. And, when teachers or classes don't really do that for you, it's kind of like, what's the point? Like, sure, you can gain some knowledge, but not really things that you can apply real world. And I think that's really important. So I already know kind of my teaching plan
That sounds like
for
a super
them.
valuable lesson for sure.
I just want to kind of be that cool, like crazy design professor that people are like
Yeah,
kind of, I think when you're that insane professor, no one really questions you. And that's like my ultimate goal is to be so insane that everyone agrees with what you say. That's a small goal for me.
Yeah, I've had some of those. I agree for sure.
But they're the best. I think those are the best
They're
ones.
always the best, definitely.
Yeah.
that's like so valuable though to the students. Like, kind of like you said, like all the great professors that I remember that changed my life were the ones that were like in the field and also not afraid to like be exactly who they were and teach you everything about how it is to really be there. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's an awesome plan.
Yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you.
the
Thank you.
mindset a teacher should have for sure. And the pre-college class, actually, the last year that I was gonna TA it before it got canned, me and Louis were in talks of this idea where we would basically, instead of having the class design stuff on their own, we were gonna try to break them down into groups and like treat each group like they were an agency and give them different like agency roles and like a fake client and like see how that would go. So I think, the teaching style like that, I think would just really be really beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great thing. That seems like really like that seems something super cool that I would love to be like to experience as a student. And I think that's what students want, you know?
Yeah, I think so
Like
too.
Totally.
as yeah, they're like, okay, what's it really gonna be like? Like because you're used to the classroom. We've been in the classroom our whole lives. So it's like we know what that's like. We know what assignments and like deadlines are like, but like once you really get out there, things aren't the same. And like the more prepped you are, you're just gonna benefit from that, and you're gonna thank that crazy teacher you had for showing you how to do it.
Right, yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's what students want, and I think sometimes they don't get enough of that, like in their 4 years of experience or however long.
Absolutely.
Doesn't come up enough.
Right. I agree.
This has been so great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for
Of
your time. It
course.
was great to catch up and talk about what you've been doing the last 2 years.
This is a great way to catch up with old friends.
Yeah.
Throw them in a podcast.
That's just how we're gonna do it from now on. Like, oh, we want to catch up? Podcast.
Yeah, it's like
That's-
great. Like
That's actually the goal.
That's great. And I was like, hell yeah, sure. Put me on.
Yeah, I'm definitely very inspired by your words, and I'm excited to follow along with your work now and see how you progress. So,
Oh, thank you.
I feel like I've gotten some valuable advice today.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel really good.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I guess the last thing would just be where people can find your work. I know you have a Behance and also an art Instagram, right?
Yes, I have my artist. Should I like
Yeah,
throw
you
the
could
ad out?
plug your stuff.
Add
Oh my
us.
god, the self promo.
The self promo at the end.
All right, you know where to follow me at claudia.art, 2 T's at the end. And that's my Instagram art account, and my Behance is behance.net/Claudia Geyer. Geyer.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was amazing.
Thank you for listening to Huewav Podcast.
You can follow the show on social media at Huewav Podcast to stay up to date with the latest episodes. We'll see you next time.
Peace.